I wanted to talk about Jesus. When we look in the Bible at Matthew 4 and 5, we can start with Matthew 4:23. Jesus heals the sick. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogue, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed. And he healed them. Large crowds gathered across the region, and they followed him. Matthew 5 talks about the Beatitudes. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, 10 Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those whose hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be fulfilled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Felt it was important to speak this today. Recently, I found a church to go to. I have always been one to walk with God, to be close to God, to always stay with that. It's very important to me. It's very important to serve. And throughout my life, I may have talked about this before in previous videos. Sometimes I stayed more quiet about it. I didn't speak out as loudly. I'm not typically the one to speak out loud that is necessary. I've also spoken about Jesus, some different videos, how wonderful his energy is, how loving, kind, forgiving. There's a church down the street from me. I've been in this home for many years. it has always piqued my curiosity. Recently, towards the end of 2020, it was quite the year. Many changes happening. Interesting changes. Necessary changes. I went back to church in December, and one day I came home, and there was a coffee mug outside my door on my porch, and it said, "I love Jesus." It was a small little gift token from the church down the block. They were welcoming me with open arms to the church. I decided to send them a thank you note, and the woman at the church contacted me. They were so thankful that I did that I actually responded to their gift. And so I contacted her back, and she was so polite in saying that if I hadn't contacted her, she was going to try again. It's really important knowing where you belong, where you're needed, where God and Jesus guide you. Knowing that they listen both ways. I feel like they listen between me and they listen between the church. It's not a one-way street. And I also believe in the gift of angels. Angels in heaven, angels here on this earth. People who are angels and who listen. And they do what their heart tells them to do. They pray, they ask, and you won't know unless you ask. That's a really important lesson. When I went to church today, we spoke about that, about remembering and knowing how to ask, and what to ask God, and how to ask God, and how to listen. In December, I waited until the new year, and I decided to start out things differently. This is a very different year. I know that we as a whole are going through some changes still, but it's very different from last year. I started at the church the first Sunday of January. I've gone every Sunday since then. It's a bilingual church, and for me it's important because I've always loved my Spanish history, my Spanish ancestry. I'm part Spanish, and it's always been important to me and my family in some way. So when I went there, the people were so heartwarming and welcoming there. And they have such good energy. The church has good energy, and they have good energy. I have been searching in a way, knowing that I didn't need a church to go to. I felt called to certain churches over the years, and I've attended, and it's been a blessing. There are some that I thought about regularly attending and then decided not to. I just can call it for the highest good of all, or for guidance. One reason or another, I'm sure that this was in my path. and was meant to be. I feel like everything that goes through me as I walk through life is either meant to be or necessary in a way, in some way. So every time I go to church on Sunday, it's always very interesting. It's something that I really, it soothes my mind, it soothes my heart, it soothes my soul to listen. And when we talk about the Bible, it's a book to really get to know. And you can read the book at different times in your life, and it may mean different things to you. I do know that people interpret the Bible in different ways. God intends it to be interpreted the way that it's needed. There's always things that are in history that aren't so wonderful. But after going to church today, I thought about talking about some of the scriptures that were talked about in church. But when I returned home and thought about doing something a little bit different and reading from the Bible, many times I do different things. No matter what I do, I always do walk with God. So different religions will talk about different things for different reasons, because I don't think they're really listening to God sometimes. It's not necessarily the religion that should be, I don't want to use the word blame too much, but you know, it's not the religion itself that misinterprets things technically, or typically, but there are people within that religion that have joined that religion, supported the religion, followed a line of history that maybe isn't as truthful. But so there are things that they will talk about that aren't necessarily true to God. I will think about getting a little bit more into that a little bit later. But just noting that no matter what I do and what I talk about, it starts with God first. I would hope the same for everybody else. It's something that is important. And if you have any questions, anything I can answer or help you with in some way, feel free to let me know. You can always reach out to me. I do a lot of things to help people with health and wellness. Again, I believe it's the mind, body, spirit, and soul. And I think that's why I was guided to talk about Jesus today. I thought about talking more about God in the Bible, which I plan to do. Like I said, sometimes I use different messages when I walk with God. So I listen, I meditate, I listen, I write things down, I make notes, I talk with the angels, messengers, and I really listen, and with Jesus and myself, and I listen, and I have a conversation. And every day I ask to do what is in the highest good. It's embedded in me, it's ingrained in me. I don't think I would do it any other way. It is who I am, but I still ask every day because it's important to say that in the highest good of all. So, talking about Jesus today, if you get to read Matthew, it's a very interesting book. Again, chapter 5. is what I read from, and it goes along with what has been happening on this earth lately. Like I said, sometimes I read from different books. I gain perspective and inspiration from books, from listening to people, from talking to people. Um, I go online a lot on social media, and 9 times out of 10, it's a mess. There are really wonderful people on there, and they are trying and bless technology. It can be a wonderful thing, but it can also be so detrimental that there were times I almost prayed not to have social media or the internet at all. It's supposed to be used for good. That's the intention. That's the purpose, to connect us with each other across the world. Otherwise, we would be using the telephone or writing letters, using the mail, like we did before. So technology gives us something to use immediately. Doesn't mean that you should use it immediately. You should always try to think about what you say, or it's in the highest good of all. I shouldn't say should. It's in the highest good of all to think about what you want to say to someone before you write it down, or when you write it down, before you respond to them. Somebody responds to you. It's a difficult, it's a difficult time still. There's a lot of people out there that just act out of different emotions that aren't in their highest good, the highest good of anyone. It's really bizarre to me to think about it pretty much every day. I pray for those people. I pray for this world. Ultimately, I know things are going to change. It won't. This earth, this world, humans, life, um, it won't withstand what has happened. It won't continue on. I won't stand here and give a prediction because God knows what it takes to make a change. And it's really sad the way things have become, and they become so repetitive. It's not just that people are choosing to act out here and there for different reasons. There's obviously mercy and forgiveness, but um, it's basically a repetitive pattern. I don't even like to call it a pattern because it's just absolutely repetitive. Sometimes there's not enough words or the right words to say to think about the things that have happened in this world. They seem so unreal sometimes. But I want to be here for a reason. I feel like I've always been a presence for people in some way or another, here as a human. I may have talked about this before, but there was a time where I thought of not coming back to this earth. I know people have different belief systems, and that's okay. It's between you and God. But I love this earth dearly for many reasons. I do think about it and speak about it sometimes in private, that there were times before I came into this lifetime, um, that I probably would have preferred to stay, but I'm here in a way to bring heaven to earth. I know that that saying can be questionable, but there's a reason that God has said that. about bringing heaven to earth. And that means peace, and that means love. Those are the two most important things. And if you believe that, then God will ask you to have faith and to have trust and to do everything that is right for you. Listen to God and do your best. If you have questions, ask God. If you know that there's someone that you can trust with your thoughts, with your words, if there's someone you feel like you can really trust, if it's someone in a church, friend, family, someone like me that you can talk to and who will listen and not judge you, please do that. If you don't feel comfortable with that, I always suggest sitting and meditating or journaling, writing it down. Many times when we write out our thoughts, it's easier to communicate with God or the angels who are messengers. You have to make sure that God knows your thoughts, your feelings, what could help you, what you need. So we can all have a better life here. I think that's probably where I'll end it. I'm sure there's more I could speak about, but I will be a presence here in many different ways. I'm going to try to continue with my social media outlets and doing these videos when I have the inspiration to do so and something to say. Let me know if this helped you in any way, and even if you don't want to say anything publicly or privately, God will know your gratitude, and that's all that matters. So continue to do your best and think about what it is that is really important. If I can leave you with one message today, that would be think about what is really important. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will talk soon.